Fleetwood Parkway in Sugar Land. Our Montgomery County branch located at 25700 I-45 North in Spring. Our Bay Area branch located at 17225 El Camino Real in Bay Area. And our original location at HAR Central located at 3693 Southwest Freeway in Houston. All 4 locations offer all the same high quality video production that you have always experienced here at our central location. Contact us today to get your video appointment scheduled at any one of our 4 locations.
As realtors, we help our clients with all sorts of matters, including how to find available resources that may assist with the down payment. We are proud to announce that Down Payment Resource is now available on HAR.com. This will allow consumers to find out if they meet the criteria for any of the 70 different assistance programs available in the great. Some programs are income-based, but many allow higher incomes than you may think. There are also programs specific for people in certain professions, such as police officers, firefighters, teachers, healthcare workers, and others. About 89% of all listings for sale in Houston qualify for some sort of down payment. To find out more, you may visit www.har.com/down payment and work with your realtor to make sure you have everything you need to be able to purchase the home of your dreams.
Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and today we are talking all about home building and new construction right here in Houston with Aimee Bertrand, the CEO of the Greater Houston Builders Association. Welcome to the program, Aimee.
Thank you, Christina. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking some time for us today. I know how busy you are, but we've got a lot to talk about. This is a subject we haven't really talked about much in a while in this program, so we are looking forward to hearing from you. I actually had the benefit of hearing from you at an event just about a month ago, and it was very enlightening, so I'm excited for today's conversation.
Oh, thanks so much. I love coming and visiting with our realtor friends.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into everything, tell us a little bit about yourself, Aimee, who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm a lifelong Houstonian, born and raised in Kingwood. I have 3 great kiddos, but from a work standpoint, I've been lobbying and advocating on behalf of home builders, multifamily communities, and similar infrastructure type needs for our community for about 20 years. And I've been the Executive Vice President and CEO here at the Greater Houston Builders Association for the last 4 years, and it has been a terrific ride and great to see the way that our region has grown.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us about the Greater Houston Builders Association. What do you guys do to support home building here in Houston?
Sure. So we're a trade association, very similar to what the realtors are doing via HAR, but we focus on home building, community development, and all of the subsequent trades that go along with building homes and building communities. We have a ton of remodeler members. So if you can imagine, it has to do with keeping a home's value, if it has to do with upgrading a home, repair after a disaster, or building those really grand new communities, our members probably do it. We're the largest home builders association in Texas. We're about the 3rd largest in the country. And that means that we do quite a bit to help home builders and all of the subsequent groups that work with them learn about their industry, learn about new laws and regulations. We work at the local, state, and national level with the Texas Association of Builders and the National Association of Home Builders to make sure we keep home building affordable in our region. And we also work on some of those big issues that go well beyond Texas and really get at the core of the American dream.
Thank you so much for going through that. We've got a lot of good mornings coming in, and one specifically was LaDonna, who said good morning from Siena, which I know there's been so much building in Siena. So good morning to you, LaDonna. Well, let's talk about new construction a little bit more. So according to our figures, the HAR figures that we put out, roughly about 30% of single-family homes that were sold last year were new construction. So that's a significant number. What do you think is the big draw of new construction?
Gosh, well, for our region, we know so many people are moving to the Houston area on a daily basis that our current stock of housing just can't keep up with it. So Houston and Dallas tend to go back and forth nationally as the two top markets in the country for new home construction. So it makes sense that such a big proportion of our home sales would be in that new home construction space. But I think too, we have folks coming to our community that are really looking for affordability. They're looking for the lifestyle of being able to maybe do that hybrid work environment. Maybe they're looking for something with really great schools. And oftentimes those new home communities tout those opportunities and the value. Plus, when it comes to new homes, many of our builders have relationships with mortgage bankers and tend to help buy down the rate for a home. So maybe that barrier of a high mortgage interest loan maybe gets mitigated a little bit for the new homes because there is some wiggle room that maybe an existing homeowner wouldn't have to be able to offer a potential client.
Very good. Thank you so much. Well, we've also seen the data shows that home buyers are flocking to suburban communities because there's, like you said, more affordable options and the new construction. There was even a comment that just came in that says Waller is growing. We were just talking about Siena, right? So do you think this trend will continue in the future of people just moving out to the suburbs?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're seeing things now that are known as the suburbs that in our wildest dreams we wouldn't have imagined as having suburban communities 10, 15, 20 years ago. If you're a lifelong Houstonian like me, Kingwood felt really far out for a long time. And now I feel like we're practically inner loop. We're not quite inner loop. We're inside the Grand Parkway, but we're at least inside a loop. But certainly we see our members working 5, 10, 15 years out on deals, and we know that they're going further and further afield to be able to find that quality land at a reasonable price that's developable. The in-town, close-in stuff, it's been snatched up years ago in many cases. And even when you're looking at redevelopment, the cost of that is much higher than going in on undeveloped land and really being able to choose your destiny for a master plan community. So I know that we'll continue to see growth toward Austin County, even down toward Matagorda County. We have a 13 county region. And it really has shown us that the heart of where the large numbers of homes are going in are not in that center Harris County area. It's really everything around.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about the properties and trends you're seeing there. Are you seeing any particular trends with new construction building and maybe different features and amenities that are popular right now?
So I think COVID changed the way that we all live, work, and play, right? And the way that we're using our homes. There's definitely been a greater interest in having that flex work from home space. In some cases, having double offices because maybe both partners work. We also are seeing more multi-generational living, whether that's in one home. I've seen some really cool floor plans with casita style mother-in-law suites right there on the property. Or we've seen folks choose to move to a community that maybe has a mix of housing styles. Maybe there's townhomes or maybe there's some build to rent. in the community where grandparents are not necessarily next door or on the same property, but maybe they're within 10 minutes and in the same community. And so I think those trends are here to stay, at least for the short term. And we'll see where Houston goes next.
Yeah, absolutely. I do see a question that just came in, and if you have questions for Aimee, please type those in and we'll get to as many as we can. This is a question that came in from Stefan, and I think it's a great question that you might have some insight on. He just said, good morning. As the population grows outside of Harris County, are home builders addressing the many traffic choke points?
So in many cases, the local elected officials are responsible for that forward traffic planning. But I can tell you, our members are absolutely working with TxDOT and with their local elected officials, whether that's a county commissioner or a city council, to try and help them understand what's headed their way, so that as they're doing that forward planning for their major thoroughfare plan, they're really thinking through how they're going to get people to the brand new HEB down the street or a brand new shopping center. Because we know that nobody wants to build a home in Houston that floods, and no one wants to build a home in Houston that you can't get to for hours at a time because of traffic. They very much are engaged in that process. We have the Texas Department of Transportation come out pretty regularly, as well as local county planning officials for that very reason.
Okay. Great, thank you, and this is a great question. Thank you again, Stefan. Going back to some of the features that you're seeing and kind of what's popular, are you seeing any shifts towards more sustainable or energy efficient home designs?
So I just returned from the International Builders Show in Las Vegas last month. It's something that the National Association of Home Builders and the Kitchen and Bath International Show puts on, and it really showed me some creative reuse of materials nationally. I think these are headed our way in the next few years. You know, what that might look like is more sustainable use of building products for like countertops and cabinetry. And we're seeing more use of bamboo, some more renewable wood sources. But I think here in Houston, we've seen a real trend toward resiliency. I know there's at least one community that's requiring all homes to be generator hookup ready. We're seeing more use of electric vehicle charging in homes. We're seeing solar ready communities. So I think folks are planning for the potential that's coming to home buyers and trying to make it easier for them if they choose to make that decision and reinvest in their home in the future with a generator or something similar. They're going to have that access point right away, as opposed to having somebody come in and do really major renovation.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are hearing more and more about build-to-rent communities. How does the activity for build-to-rent communities compare over the last few years? And do you see we'll see more communities like this in the future?
So as home prices have gone up and as mortgage interest rates have gone up, that definitely continues the trend toward renting in our community. But we are seeing that interest in the single family rental market and something that's purpose built for rental. I think we saw our real peak in investment in our region during COVID. Definitely in 2021 and 2022, we saw a ton of new starts on build-to-rent communities. That's slowed down just a little bit in the past couple of years, but I think many of our master plan communities are being thoughtful about setting aside a reserve for that, so that as families' needs change, maybe they go from single family rental in one of those build to rent communities and then move their way up into the rest of the neighborhood. They have that opportunity of a mixed housing type available at every stage of their home ownership journey or renting journey. It's really appealing to folks who want that backyard. Maybe they want the access to the schools and the community amenities, but maybe they're not ready to leap into home buying yet.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's talk a little bit about tariffs, because we've seen a lot about tariffs, in the news and the headlines and things like that. How could tariffs impact new construction?
Oh, in a huge way. This has been the talk of our industry, both at the local level and at the national level. And I can tell you the National Association of Home Builders has been extremely engaged with the administration, trying to make sure we exempt out building materials from those tariffs. Right now, the biggest cost to home building in our area is that lumber package. And we know that most of the lumber nationally that's used is from Canada. It's Canadian softwood lumber. And when we're talking about a 25% increase on the cost of that, and potentially more as the year goes on, as has been intimated, that really impacts our ability to build an affordable, attainable product in our region. So I can't tell you, I don't have a crystal ball on where this is headed, but I can tell you that uncertainty is definitely impacting the decisions people are making right now about how they're going to price their homes, where they're headed in terms of materials. It will continue to be a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to that, what other challenges do you see that home builders are currently facing?
Well, just like many industries, workforce is such a critical component to everything we do. We know that students are not headed into the trades the way they used to be. Our average age for a master plumber and a master electrician is nearing retirement age. And in the next 10 years, a great number of those professionals are likely to drop off. And that's such a huge component to building a home. Nobody wants a home without plumbing or electricity, at least not in the Houston area. And so that labor shortage really impacts the number of days it takes to get a home built. That means it impacts the cost of carrying that home and the end result to the home buyer, and what they see as far as their total buy-in. So we are working really extensively with local trade programs. We are lucky here in Houston that we were the fourth in the country to get an academy from the Home Builders Institute. It's located just off Harwin. They offer completely free education for folks who are starting their way in the construction industry. And that's not limited to home building, but we would like all those folks to go right into residential construction. We also have seen a number of school districts that are really bringing not shop class as we remember it back into schools, but that career and technical education piece. I think folks are starting to realize that the move from the idea of college is the only way for students is not necessarily something that serves us and improving the Texas miracle and getting people great jobs that can sustain their families long term. At least not in every case. And so we're putting a lot of focus on working with students at that high school level, at that trade school, and at the community college level so that they understand the vast careers that are available in home building and real estate generally.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. We had a few questions come in that I want to address. One of them, you were talking about workforce being a challenge. Margot is saying, what about the impact of immigration laws? So I imagine those are kind of one and the same. Or is there anything else you want to add there?
So they're two sides of the same coin. Certainly our trade base it is a diverse mix of individuals. And here in Houston, we have not heard of large-scale raids on job sites, but there is that fear factor that goes along with immigration enforcement. And I think that's affected some of the willingness of folks to show up on job sites. I honestly haven't heard it as extensively here in Houston as in other areas of the country. But we have to recognize that our workforce is extremely diverse, just as home buyers are extremely diverse in our region. And we're certainly keeping a close eye on this, as is our national association.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jim was asking, is there a chance that communities used concrete or steel grill for fence to save on our trees and cheaper in the long run? So I guess this is kind of in reference to the tariff conversation we were having.
That's a really interesting question. I haven't heard of that being a big alternative for fencing at this point, but I can tell you in South Louisiana, I was hearing about a number of folks using steel for construction instead of lumber as lumber prices went up dramatically a couple of years ago during COVID. So I wouldn't doubt that there are some creative uses or potential use of materials in the future here.
Okay, very good. A couple more questions that came in. Integrity Texas Properties asked, what is the average square footage you're seeing? Are you seeing over 4,000 square foot homes? Do you see the need based on several families living together? So kind of talking about that multifamily. And there was actually another question. Dusty was saying, are more multifamily homes being built as well, which you did touch on. Do you want to address this one? Yeah.
Sure. And I can tell you, I don't have the average square footage in front of me, but it varies widely. We see some communities going to much smaller homes to try and fill that affordability gap. But then I am hearing from a number of our members, particularly on the custom side, about multifamily dwellings, and not multifamily in the sense of apartments, but maybe it's a family that has a grandparent or multiple sets of grandparents living with them on the same property, whether that's attached or detached. I think that's a trend we'll continue to see as we kind of adjust to this new reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. A couple more questions here. Kevin was asking about, we had that build to rent question earlier. Kevin is asking, are there any examples of master plan communities that have a dedicated section for build to rent?
Yeah, there are actually several in our region. I think of a couple on the northwest side that have done that set aside for BTR. I can think of one near the Kingwood area that has one as well. And it tends to be a small number of single family homes that are maintained completely as you would think of an apartment community's exterior being maintained, but they are detached and they are very much single family homes. They're just maybe a little smaller. The parking may be congregate in nature. I've seen it a few different ways.
Okay, excellent. A couple more, and then I have a few questions for you as well. We have a lot of questions piling in for you now. We were mentioning alternatives in the construction. Rachel just made a comment here. There's a new product with blocks and styrofoam that is like Lego and is supposed to speed up construction, and another product that uses materials currently used in commercial buildings.
Yeah, I'm seeing this, and certainly at the International Builders Show, I saw more user-friendly modular type construction. I haven't seen it used extensively in our area yet, but things are coming our way, and I'll be interested to see how this need for speed impacts construction. I know up in North Texas, as we've seen some major relocations of large employers, there's been a real need for workforce housing to get on the ground in a quality, speedy way. And I think some of those kind of building systems may end up being used up there.
Yeah. I've even seen, I'm sure you've seen as well, the 3D printed homes. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I was actually just talking about this on Saturday with one of our members. One of our members has a pretty reasonably sized community up near Austin where they were testing out 3D printed homes. And my understanding is they're expanding that to a much larger footprint for their next community. So I think we've got at least a couple of examples of that going on small scale here in the Houston area. And so we've been working through, how does that look with our current codes? What challenges are there that we need to be rising to meet, but it's working in other communities.
Okay, very good. So you've mentioned affordability a little bit. And maybe some lobbying, and maybe that's the answer here, but I'm curious what all is being done to address the affordability concerns while also meeting the demand for so many new homes.
So a lot of this is education. Most people don't realize that about 25% of the cost of a new home is dependent purely on local regulation. Now we're talking permits, we're talking inspections. Many of these are extremely necessary, but as much as we can speed those processes along, we help short circuit some of the costs associated with them. Those costs that we can control by not over regulating or over intensifying what's built out there really would help with this affordability gap. We know in our area that every $1,000 you raise the price of a home over the average median home price, which right now starts with a 4, which to me is wild. That price is about 1,800 families out of the market right there. So if we're looking at a code cycle that brings in, $10, $15, $20,000 on the conservative side of new construction costs, we're really talking in the tens of thousands of families that are immediately priced out of being able to purchase those homes, and for good reason. But we want to make sure that Houston stays that affordable place to live. We know people are not moving here because they want to ski our beautiful mountains or hang out on our blue seed beaches. They're here because Houston is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to live and work and pray and play. And they need a great home to lay their heads at night.
Okay, very good. A couple more questions that I saw come in. Erica was asking, what resources are available for private small home builders when making a decision to buy lots in certain areas?
Oh, that's such a good question. Now, there are some very good programs that have been in place for a long time. I'm thinking the city of Houston has an affordable lot development program. There are some hurdles that you have to meet in the way of pricing for those homes. But it really depends jurisdiction by jurisdiction, whether those resources are available. Certainly, the Houston Housing Collaborative is a great group of affordable housing professionals that meets regularly. In fact, I'm meeting with them this Friday to have a similar conversation, but an update on the legislature. At the end of the day, we want to make sure there are resources in place to make sure that affordable homes can be built without some of those big, massive federal programs that currently exist. And so we really look to our local officials to help us with those programs. Oh, I might have lost sound from you there, Christina. I'm not hearing you.
Apologies. There was Felita's actually looking for some clarification, if you don't mind. Can you clarify your comment about homeowners being priced out for every $1,000? Do you mind repeating that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the National Association of Home Builders and Wells Fargo do an annual study called the Priced Out Index. That shows what the impact of every $1,000 over the median home price is on the ability of local buyers to purchase a home. So we know here in Houston, just with the median home price, that it prices out about 2.5 million people in our region from buying a home at all. So, when you go to the bank and you ask for that letter that says that you can afford a certain price home, there are over 2 million people that can't even get that letter for a median priced home. For every $1,000 you go up on that home price, another 1,800 families are priced out. So they won't get that letter if it's an extra $1,000, an extra $2,000, and so on and so forth. It has a real impact for even small amounts added to that total home price to the number of buyers who can qualify to purchase that home.
Okay, very good. LaDonna was asking, where can we find data to stay abreast of these trends and some of the things we've been talking about today?
Oh, that's such a good question. And please know that I'm not an economist or a statistician. I read my data out there just like y'all. So eyeonhousing.org is a huge resource that I use. It's the economics arm of the National Association of Home Builders. I know HAR and NAR have some fabulous resources when it comes to economics and what home buyers want. But we also have a number of local practitioners who provide regular market updates. We at the Greater Houston Builders Association hosts 2 economic forecasts a year. Our next one is coming up in June, and we alternate between local and national experts who come and tell us what's going on in the market and what their crystal balls show for the future.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you. And thank you, LaDonna, for that question. Well, I would imagine that we have some people tuned in that would like to build closer relationships with home builders. So what advice do you have for realtors who are looking to build relationships with home builders?
So I think number one, educating yourself as much as possible on the home building process, because we know at the end of the day that impacts your buyers and how long it takes them to get to the closing table. Number two, I'm going to do a shameless plug for us at the association.
Of course.
Tomorrow night, we're celebrating, over 300 new home sales professionals who have sold over $1 million in homes in the last year. At those events, we have builders come in to celebrate their new home sales professionals, as well as many folks in the industry on all sides of the industry. And then we have some great opportunities like those economic forecasts. We even have a realtor event in November where we are bringing folks out down south of town to a brand new community to educate them on how homes are built and the new products in those communities. So please, ghba.org/calendar, and look for those Sales and Marketing Council events that appeal to realtors.
Very good. Well, obviously our interests align in a lot of different ways between the HAR members and the members of GHBA. So how can realtors and home builders work together?
I think really letting our community know that every little change does impact the cost of affordability, that home building and home buying is still really important in our region in order for communities to thrive, in order for businesses to grow. But really having those open and frank discussions about what's impacting them, what's impacting their buyers, really helps professionals work together toward that end goal of getting people into really loving, lasting homes.
Wonderful. Well, Aimee, you've shared some great information today. We had a lot of interaction. I tried to get as many questions as we could, but I think we missed maybe one or two. So apologies there, but I want to also be respectful of your time. But is there anything else that you want to share with us today? I mean, again, this has been such a great conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think we're all headed toward the same goal at the end of the day. We might be on different sides of the home building buying process, but without us all working together, we can't sell homes without our friends at the realtors. So I just really thank HAR for their openness and collaborative spirit working with the builders.
Absolutely. Well, Aimee, once again, thank you for your time today. This has been a really great conversation, and we genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you. Well, that is it for this Member Focus Monday, but we will be back next Monday, and we are going to have on 2 experts from the Real Estate Center at Texas A&M University. They're going to give us a little bit of an overview of what we saw in Q1 as far as the numbers and the market are concerned, and also kind of a look into the rest of this year and what to expect. So should be a great conversation. Aimee, thanks again for your time today. Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.